Welcome back. It's Wealth and Wellness Wednesdays, and you are tuned in to the
Turnip. This is Farmer Mac.
And this is Roots.
Howdy, partners.
No. Howdy, partners.
We're not cowboys.
We're not cowboys.
No.
And we don't live in Texas.
No, we don't need the Texas. We got Georgia. But, no, welcome back. We have a great episode this week. We'll be talking to the CEO of Fawma.com, Kelly Silvera. Yeah, I said it right.
Did you?
Yeah, I said it. Yeah. I was choking at the same time. But yeah, Kelly Silvera. So we'll be talking to her. Like I said, another phenomenal entrepreneur, shifting lanes and shifting in the atmosphere. You don't know about that song, but yeah. So, but before we get into that interview, what are we doing this week in the garden?
All right. So this week in the garden, we actually did some more cleanup. We repurposed our soil. And so what we did was our old beds that we took our watermelon and what do we have in the other beds on the other side? Oh, I had beets and carrots in those.
That was those beets were good.
They were.
We did. With the struggles we had with the tomato, we made up on some things like the melons and the beets and the carrots that we haven't been able to be successful on the previous 4 years.
The watermelons were nice.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
So we're still, like I said, we're still learning, and hopefully that you all are doing the same thing, and continue to ask questions on the TLSC Radio. Download the app or go to tlscradio.com. You can do the new features, the live chat, and leave audio comments too, and then
audio shout outs.
Yeah, audio shout outs, audio comments, and also find out about other shows. Like I said, we always promoting the other shows, the new and also the mainstays over the last couple seasons. Go again to tlscradio.com/shows.
Yes, and you can see us in video now. So in the event you don't want to listen to us, you can also just click the link.
Do both
to see us. So those are all great new features offered on the TLSC Radio platform now. And just I wanted to piggyback on what Farmer Mac was saying about what we're doing in the garden this week. Specifically, we're doing new planting. So we're actually planting seeds because in the fall, you do not need to create transplants for your leafy greens. So you can just put those seeds directly in the ground, and that's why we were repurposing the soil.
Yes. And I think I kept the chickens in there today because I was like, what? The chickens were in there. I couldn't find them today. So, I let them roam. Like when I go over there at 9:30 to collect the eggs and feed them or whatever, I let them stay out until like lunchtime.
What do you mean?
I couldn't find them today. So they were in where you pulled up from the mint and the oregano over there. They were just sitting there. They're still doing the baths and stuff like that. But they're smart. They're not running around. They just sit there and just do the dirt baths and everything. So even we're repurposing the dirt too. So see, circle of life.
Speaking of, we could talk about the circle of life and how that goes specifically with our guest today. And who do we have?
Again, the CEO of Fawma is Kelly Silvera. She'll talk about precision farming and AI and a lot of things they're doing. She's on location in Jamaica. So we're looking forward. This is a phenomenal interview. We wish we had more time, as you'll see, but you'll be able to find her on her socials and her website that we'll talk about in the interview. So without further ado, let's welcome Kelly.
Yeah.
And welcome, like I said, our special guest today is Kelly Silvera. Is that right?
That's right.
Yes, see, first, and it's going to get more interesting right here. And she is the CEO of Fawma, and I'm not saying it right. She told me earlier I'm going to mispronounce it because it's spelled Fawma. So this Fawma.com and Fawma.
You got it. See, Tasha's got it.
Yes. Well, I don't understand how she got it. But
I should have done the introduction.
Yeah, do the introduction then.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, so we're saying it like that because she is coming to us from
Jamaica.
Yeah. See, we're getting international now. Everybody else be here in Atlanta or somewhere in Podunk, Tennessee or something. Now we big time. We got people across the pond. No.
Across the Atlantic Ocean.
No, it's the Caribbean Sea.
Whatever.
It's whatever.
Depends which way you go. I make you both right. You can go either way.
Yes. So like I said, Kelly is CEO of Fawma. It's an AI company, and I guess.
Well, what's AI for people that don't know? You said AI company.
Dang, you don't give nobody know. Everybody knows what that is.
Okay.
Alphabet intelligence. No, it's artificial intelligence, and focusing on precision farming. So instead of us continuing to mess up what we do, and this is really interesting what you do. Been talking to you, met you through a fantastic person, Rochelle. Shout out to Rochelle. She's always
Rochelle.
Yes, fantastic people. And then, like I said, I started talking to Kelly, I guess maybe a couple of weeks ago, and phenomenal. And I think I even told that to her. It's just like I've been blessed to be around some phenomenal, forward-thinking Black women. And as of late, and I guess, even with, Roots here and everything, I know, I don't think she's, I'm carrying the heavy weight, but she is the best part. Right. And after you listen to Kelly and she discusses precision farming and what she's doing there in Jamaica, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Another phenomenal Black woman. So, entrepreneur. Yes, entrepreneurship at its best. So without further ado, Kelly, tell us a little bit about what you do, who you are, what makes you tick.
So thank you for that fantastic intro. Very nice. Thank you. So precision farming, well, AI and precision farming, right? That's the core of our company. Mm-hmm. And you guys were joking about what is AI, tell people won't know. You'd be surprised. People don't actually understand just how intrinsic AI is in their lives and how much it's controlling everything we do, right? And how it's feeding us a whole lot of disinformation about things that are really important. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what we're trying to do, my co-founder and I, Matali and Kunde, she is so much smarter than me. She is really, really, really deep into ethical AI and tech, equitable tech, right? Mm-hmm. So she, for the last 10 years, has been studying how to create products that actually improve our lives rather than just sell us things that we don't need, mm-hmm. right? So that's kind of the basis of the company. And then where I come in and where farming comes in is, farming is very emotional to a lot of us. I know you guys have a very emotional attachment to farming. My story is, we're from a long line of farmers, brought here to Jamaica to work the land, work it better than anyone else. In fact, many, many of us worked it to death, but still those of us that survived and lived to tell the tale have great stories of resilience and great stories of working the land to make something of their families and their lives, right? So I, over the years, as you can hear from my funny accent, I grew up in London, but coming home over the years and just watching how my family still use agriculture to create bigger, better, greater lives, I've always been really struck by how they've done that. And I've always wanted to figure out how to make that more accessible to more people like me, who didn't necessarily grow up here having to work the land or grow up here learning some of the skills and the secrets that made us, create these great yields and these abundant crops, but really have a great respect for that art and that craft. So together with Matale, we came up with this idea of, all right, why don't we capture some of that knowledge, create an algorithm that can share that knowledge with the masses and use it to increase yields and fight the biggest fight of our lives, which is climate change, right? Because right now our biggest problem, and you guys have this on the Southern Coast too, Absolutely. But to a larger extent, we've been dealing with it for a bit longer and in silence, because since Hurricane Gilbert in '88, that's really when we've been seeing land slowly disappear and soil conditions change to the extent where farming methods have had to completely be turned on their head. And that's been done without, any real deep research or any real academic presence. It's just people being resilient and figuring these things out and sharing the secrets with each other and just kind of continuing that cycle.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because through my experience in the different West Indies and everything, I just assumed, I always thought like that's the best place to farm. You get so much sun. If you're not in the hills, but a lot of places up in are really flat. And I never, never thought about, I guess, the climate change and I guess soil. And I know a lot of this stuff is kind of what we do here, because it's not as drastic, only being in 5 years, but we do different type of planting and we see how different type of soil mixtures and everything affect. And then also the sun, and this year we're getting a lot of rain or whatever. So what is the biggest climate change that you all are seeing right now? And is it exacerbating? Is it going quicker as time goes on?
Absolutely. So the two major events are longer droughts and excessive rainfall. Mm-hmm. So the seasons have changed. So what our guys and females have been doing is they've just completely switched out their crop cycles. So right now we're in the excessive rain period, but because it's hurricane season, right? So between September, like mid-September to mid-November, we've been having more and more and more rainfall year on year. I moved home in 2017 and I've seen it. So I can tell you from 2017 to today, 2021, the amount of rainfall has sharply risen. And so what that means is that farmers in certain areas, like up in the hills, they don't even bother to plant. Down in the south, they do a little better because it runs off, because it's completely flat. Down in the south, in St. Elizabeth, in Manchester and Clarendon, it runs off. So they can get some crop out of this period, but for the most part, it's not a good time to plant anything.
So you're saying in the hills, they just during this season right here, they're not doing anything at all. So they have to wait until after November?
Exactly. Which, what that means for Christmas, right? And there's certain fruits and vegetables that you're looking for at Christmas. Well, what we've been seeing year on year is a shortage. So a shortage of like gungo peas, which we'll use for Christmas dinner to make rice and peas. A shortage of, last year it was tomatoes. And some of these real staples that you would get from the local market, you wouldn't get from import, but they're either in such short supply or you can't get them at all because of this rainy period right before the Christmas season.
Yeah, we've noticed the same kind of changes here in the South, right? In Georgia. And specifically this year, we had an abundance of rain that was unusual for a summer. Mm-hmm. And also that came with lower temperatures. And so to your point, like we had a challenge with our tomato crops this year because they needed that hot sun and they were getting more rains. And of course, that makes them burst. They get soft faster and they rot faster, or they just never turned red. And so to your point, we're seeing some of that same impact of climate change here in Georgia, but I'm sure where you guys are, you see it a lot. It's probably more prevalent for you guys than it is for us here.
Absolutely. So, and again, just talking to the resilience, right? So what happens is people adapt tastes and recipes. So you get a lot more value added products. So a lot more preserves and different kinds of peppers and jams and that kind of thing, which is fantastic, always thinking about how to make the most of what we have. But we have science. Yeah. We have precision farming, right? It exists. In Northern California, they've managed to save an entire almond crop. The almond was about to go the way of the Florida orange. And because of precision farming, they've been able to save the almond and increase yields. We can do the same thing here. We can do the same thing across the Caribbean with the fruits and vegetables that we love, that not only make up our balanced diet, but actually make us who we are. Much like your collard greens, we have our sweet greens, we have our callaloo. It's part of who we are.
Yeah.
You don't want to
Absolutely.
end up having to eat pickled greens, you know?
Yeah, or you're having to start to import different things like that, and then you're changing in a whole different type of culture and generations where they don't get the fresh fruit and the vegetables and growing like that. Yeah, you like I said, 20 years from now, you're like, oh, you remember this? Like, don't know that. So yes, so that is interesting because because even though we are adaptable people, I think that precision farming is very important so we don't lose that culture and we just don't lose certain crops just because we are fighting climate change. So can you talk about like what are the different things that they're doing, the different farmers are doing to precision farming?
So, I mean, the big things are, and we've spoken about this a little bit, Malcolm, and one of the things I can't wait for is when you guys come down here and see a lot of the methods. Yeah, exactly. See a lot of the methods that they're using, that our farmers are using, that they have been using for generations now. And it's not because they had to think on their feet. It's because this is stuff that's intrinsic to them, you know, no-till methods, because even if there is mechanized equipment in the community, they can't get access to it, or they can't get access to a consistent electricity supply. So they just become really, really good at doing things manually and using no-till methods. Crop rotations, because even before we got this, you know, exacerbated climate change and these extreme events, you still had to make sure you were maintaining soil health. Again, that's intrinsic. You know, some of our guys, like, they'll just taste the dirt and they'll tell me how alkaline it is. You know, stuff like that.
That's a level I'm trying to get to. Never get to that. Now, that's real farming right there.
I can't wait to introduce you to Lisa. Lisa will teach you things that you'll be like, what? Huh?
I do want to jump in really quickly, and I know this might be a little off topic, but I kind of wanted to address it because as we're talking about precision farming and making sure we can increase yield and then keep these crops, these produce, you know, in rotation when they're about to become extinct. One thing I wanted to kind of ask was, I know people are going to be thinking in their mind when they hear precision farming, they might try to then attach it to GMO. And I want to be very clear that that's not what you're talking about.
That's a good point. And thanks for bringing that up. Because
thank you. Because I know when we think about like products being extinct and we hear like we're going to keep these seeds and create this type of seed so it's resistant to this and resistant to that so that we can still grow it. And I think a lot of people are a little confused by that. And I want to be very clear, like we don't necessarily have to go that route. And you can do something like what you're talking about to kind of save these produce crops.
Absolutely. So it's what we call naturally grown here, right? Because, you know, organic costs way too much money.
Right.
But it's the same process, right? It's actually working with the natural resources, working with, we don't tend to use a lot of fertilizer, again, because of accessibility. So we tend to use a lot of natural products, you know, and composting and neem oil and, you know, really natural products that you find, manure, of course, that you find in the environment. And it's really it's a circular economy, you know, because a lot of the methods that I'm talking about, way before it was in vogue to think sustainably, we were living sustainably, you know. So a lot of those methods and those tactics, again, are really intrinsic to the people that we work with. So what we're trying to do is capture their knowledge, capture their practices, and train the tech so that we save it. We save these methodologies that are intrinsically Black, intrinsically work for agriculture, and create naturally grown products.
That's what the foundation of this, because as you know, I'm an electrical engineer by trade, and like I said, when I started talking to you and the marrying of the farming and technology, it was just right up our alley, because that is what we've been trying to do. And we've talked before, oh, we can do something with solar, but we could never really think of what is innovative. What can we do that's innovative with technology and farming? And even just what you're talking about, even the, the idea sharing across farms, and like how you even mentioned, just, on the humble about what they're doing in California. But being able to share that, because a lot of people are going to hear this and have no idea what that is or that's even possible. And then how Tasha tied it into, it's not going to be GMO automatically. So what is really going on? And it's really going to blow their mind what you all are doing there at Fawma. So do you, and I know, I'm sure you have some struggles with funding or, other people getting behind that idea. Is there any methods, any people, locally, nationally, internationally that is helping you or supporting you?
We're actually getting a lot of support from the Congressional Black Caucus, the Caribbean office. So Congresswoman Yvette Clarke and Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, we're working with them to develop some policies around AI in agriculture. I'm sure you guys know about the HR 40 bill, the Reparations Act, and some of that funding that's tied up right now in a lawsuit. There's a great deal of funding on the table for Black farmers as part of the reparative justice bill. So while that's tied up, we're working with them to develop more policy around the research and development, because money's great, money's fantastic, but actually what we need right now is more the brain trust, is more to get the science right around the technology. Because like I said earlier, when we look at the way AI is being used at the moment, and we don't have to go too deep into the big tech companies that kind of rule the day, and the way in which they've been using the technology to convince us to buy things that we really don't need, or convince us to believe things that are really going to hurt us. Yeah. Tasha, I know you deal with that all day. So, that's just one tiny sliver of what the technology is capable of doing. Think about all of the possibilities if we had a research and development brain trust that was solely focused on creating technology for good and creating technology that can share ideas and uplift communities like ours. Just let that sink in. Think about what that could do for us.
No, absolutely. It's
a scary concept for the masses.
Yeah, nobody ever thinks that. But yeah, and it's like I said, there's a lot of deep with the AI, and a lot of people don't understand that. People just, they're listening to my phone, and like everything that you do on your phone, everything on your computer, those are all algorithms. That's AI that's going to target marketing to you. And to your point, like, what if we use that for good? I mean, not that you sending me tennis shoe ads. Well, I think I do need tennis shoes. That's not bad, but think of something, out of the box or whatever with this type of farming and these ideas, and that's pushing to that. And then I really appreciate what you said about that, because like I said, money is good. Everything, I think you throw money at everything, but if you do something like policy, laws that are there and sustain, like this is going to be this, that's when you're generational changing. So long past when we're gone, people's like, we're eating this way, we're healthy, we are thriving as individual people, small farmers, because of what happened 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the whole point, because as much as there's action right now and it's a hot topic, because we can no longer deny that climate change is real, right. Dozens of people drowning in their beds in New York. If that was the wake-up call that we needed to understand that this is a real thing that we have to do something about, then okay, cool. But it's going to be with us, right? So what we need to do is to continue to share the ideas and share the knowledge so that we can continue to adapt at a faster rate. Because the pace we've been moving at, it's not going to cut it.
Yeah. And it's going to be up to us, if we're specifically talking about our community, at large, we definitely need to be sharing information and ideas with each other. Because I'm not so sure the masses in our communities to know all of that.
True.
It becomes a domino effect. Like I said, it'll start in the islands because they're experiencing things that we don't experience.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we'll get since we're a little bit landlocked here in Atlanta, sometimes we get just the remnants of hurricanes and that type of weather. But all those West Indian islands down there, they're all experiencing. When they come one direction, it's going to come all the directions. But if these are things they're learning about climate change, it's like, the idea of sharing is like, this is what we're doing with this. This is what we're doing with that. We have a mobilized in a network of small farmers doing precision farming that is, like I said, you'll have a life-changing idea that you all are about to embark on. So that is fantastic. I say fantastic about it. Don't give me another word. Awesome. No. I get a big word and nobody be like, I have to look it up.
Extraordinary.
No, I have to look that up. That's can't spell it. So.
Are you the resident thesaurus, Tasha?
Yeah.
I try to know my words.
She be knowing words. I be like, I know numbers.
I try to know my words, but outside of all of this, you told us so much about artificial intelligence and
Precision farming
and all of these wonderful tools. Let me ask you personally, like, what actually keeps you rooted though?
Ooh, okay. We're going there.
We're going there. Because, we talked about science, but let's get into like what really keeps you rooted in doing all of these things.
So I like that you talk about rooted, right? Because it's all about roots, right?
Yeah.
We come from somewhere, and in order to, in my opinion, really live a full and wholesome life, you've got to honor where you're from and who you are. Mm-hmm. So that for me is Jamaica. Hence, I've been all around the world and decided 4 years ago, I'm coming home to Jamaica to do something. I didn't know it was going to be a precision farming project, but here I am doing a precision farming project. And the reason that I knew I had to come home to Jamaica and do something that made sense, that could be carried on, is because I have 2 sons. So what keeps me rooted is my 2 boys, and knowing that every single day that I'm able to run around on this green earth, it has to be about giving them something that they can carry forward. Yeah.
What keeps you rooted, Farmer Mac?
Mm-hmm. I told you all at the beginning, being around phenomenal people like yourselves. And I unfortunately, we have to go, but how can they find more information about you? Because like I said, even with these 20 minutes and the intro and everything, it's not doing justice to what I know about you and Matali too. That's another one. I haven't told you about her. I was on the phone with them. I was just like, I got to do something different in life, man. I got to stop taking that. I got to do better because these women are phenomenal. And I'm not just blowing smoke or whatever. Once you read up more about both of them. So where can they read more about you, learn more about your company and all the initiatives that you're doing?
All right. Well, so first of all, we're only in Jamaica. We can come back. We can do this again.
We're coming to visit. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it live in person in Jamaica.
Love that. All right.
After hurricane season.
Yes, exactly. Well, let that pass. All right. Yeah. So where can you find more about us? On the socials, of course, Fawma Official, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Fawma, FAWMA_official. That's where you can find more about what we're doing on a day-to-day. For the big picture, you can check out my website, kellysilvera.com, KELLYSILVERA.com, or Mutale, M-U-T-A. Knew I was going to mess up. MUTALE.tech, TECH. There you go. That's where you can find everything you need to know about what we're doing.
Well, we thank you so much for giving us a little snippet and insight of what you got going on.
Thank you guys for having me. This has been great. and can't wait to host you down here.
I'm excited.
Absolutely. No, we have to do work though. We're not going
That's
down there just
okay.
to
I've
play.
never even been to Jamaica before.
What?
Oh, no,
Oh,
no,
yes.
no.
That's sacrilegious. See how that was, Kelly? That was you're off the team.
I'm coming.
No, it just got better. It just got better because now we know we have to give you the full court press. All right.
With that, appreciate you, Kelly, and talk to you sooner than later.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Again, like I said, a phenomenal interview. I wish we had longer time with Kelly. Again, you can find more about her. We didn't really even get into what she does before she even started this. Like I said, she is from London by way of Jamaica. You can go to kellysilvera.com to find out more information about her. And Mutali, we really didn't get to touch on Mutali. I have to tell you more about her, but just go to mutali.tech.
Yes.
Phenomenal. And she's, believe also London by way of Zambia.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. So
We're international, y'all.
I'm telling y'all. But what is it now? As we wind down, what are we going to do? Our section?
Questions, right?
No, that's not. What is it called?
You
Get
know.
to the root of things. So get into the root of things. Questions that, like I said, go to tlscradio.com, download the chat app, and you can ask us questions live every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 Central. Go in there, download the app, and you can ask us questions, and we will answer the questions live, but we'll also bring them back so the whole world can know.
Yes.
The first question was...
Oh, so
Yes.
it's on me.
Yes, on you.
So the question is, what do you do with your crops that are still in the ground that are summertime crops if they're still growing? Like, for instance, tomatoes. So if you still have tomatoes in the ground now and they're still growing, leave them.
Yeah.
So you never know because of climate change that we just talked about if they'll still grow. So I tell people keep them in the ground until they start to look like they're actually dying. Again, our kale lasted all summer long and it wasn't supposed to.
Yep.
And so just leave them until they don't have anything left on them or they all turn brown. So that's one question. So I leave your crops even though it doesn't seem like it's the season for it because, again, we're in climate change. So.
And the next question, you already kind of touched on it. What are we planting now?
Yeah, again, this is the season for leafy greens. So if you're planting now, make sure you plant your lettuce, your kale, your arugula, your collard greens, so you can have those for the holidays, and cabbage and things like that. And again, like I said, you do not need to make starter plants. You can just put those seeds directly in the ground.
Why can you do that? Why can you do it directly in the ground?
Well, that's just because that's the type of crop it is. Every crops are different. So your summertime crops are a little more fragile.
Okay.
And so they don't like to be in the ground. They like to be nice and warm and in the light and little small, environment. But the leafy green seeds, they're resilient. They can kind of like grow in any environment for the most part. So that's the reason why.
All right. Thank you all. Once again, appreciate you all joining us on the podcast, The Turn Up. Tune in next week. And on that note.
Well, you can also find us, you guys don't forget, on Instagram at Graperoots Inc. And you can always find us on our website at www.graperoots.org. And here every Wednesday at 8:30 on the TLSC radio platform. And it's the Turn Up.